instead of saying practice makes perfect, one can say practice makes progress, or practice makes growth. Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Roberta and this is Dhamma Inspired Living, and today I would like to talk to you about perfectionism and work. And the reason I want to talk to you about this today is because this feels really real for me and raw right now. I'm just doing an orbit with YouTube, which means doing a video every day for 365 days, and I felt really inspired, intuitively sort of guided about a few weeks ago to step into this process of creating a video every day. And I had so many ideas, I have so many ideas, and I feel like the real learning experience for me here is to learn how to be productive and how to put things out there without the burden and the expectation of perfection. And if you're anything like me, you have suffered childhood abuse, or you've grown up with narcissistic parents, then you know what it's like to have this perfectionism in you, which is very debilitating. You don't actually do anything because you are so stuck in feeling like you shouldn't do something unless it's perfect, unless it's 100%. Because as a child, nothing you did was ever good enough, so you're constantly invalidated. And I think that there's a tie between doing something perfectly and being loved. And you want to do things perfectly so that you get that validation from your parent and so that you are loved. So obviously this perfectionism has a really deep rooting in your life experience, maybe in your childhood, and it's very deeply subconsciously programmed in. So the first step for me is just being really gentle with myself and understanding that this perfectionism is coming from the need to be accepted and the need to be loved. The second stage or step for me is to accept myself and love myself and acknowledge that I am good enough and I'm worthy of love. And I've always been worthy of love, and I've always been good enough. Which means that if that love and that sense of self-worth is there as a base, then even though there is a part of me in my subconscious programming that wants to put out content that's perfect, then I know that it's okay, because it doesn't need to be perfect, because my sense of self-worth doesn't depend on it. And it's okay for me to put something out there, and maybe it's not good, maybe it's good, yeah, it's okay, I'll be fine. Sometimes this perfection is also tied to feeling safe. If you are perfect the way you are, the way you express yourself, you don't trigger anyone, and they don't get upset with you, then you're safe. And so it's kind of coming from this fear to want to, like, the perfectionism is coming from wanting to be loved and feel worthy, but also it's coming from a sense of wanting to feel safe, right, in what you're doing. So if you do everything perfect, if you can, as a child, if I can only do something perfectly, then I'll be safe. If I only do things perfectly, then I'll be loved. And there's so much ease that comes with letting that go. You were always perfect in your imperfections, and the way you were treated as a child is not because of what you did, it's because of the trauma of your parents. So this is something I'm reconvening in myself for sure. So what does that look like practically in terms of what can I do to let go of perfectionism and just stop procrastinating? One thing I found really helpful in the past few weeks while I've been doing this YouTube orbit was to just give myself a time limit. Okay, Roberta, you have an hour to film and edit and upload, and that's it. And then I know that whatever I complete in that hour is what's going to be the outcome, which is incredibly helpful, because when you have that kind of limit, then you're not allowing yourself to go into all the details and rethink. Just, you have an hour, you do it, you put it out, and that's it. So that's what I've been doing. Obviously, having two small kids, an 8-month-old actually now, an 8-month-old and a 2.5-year-old helps, because I don't have a huge amount of time. I'm filming this right now while they're sleeping. and who knows whether they'll wake up any moment, right? So I don't have so much time to be worrying about it. And I think giving yourself that time limit and doing so in a compassionate way really, really helps. Or certainly it really, really helps me. Another thing that you can do is to shoot for, you know, how you want something to be perfect. Rather than saying, I want it to be perfect, just try to reframe that in your mind and say, I want it to be done, and I want an opportunity to grow. I want an opportunity to learn from this. What can I learn? So done and growth process. I just saw a quote that really resonated with me, which was, instead of saying practice makes perfect, one can say practice makes progress, or practice makes growth. And I think if we reframe what we want to achieve, and that achievement is not an end goal, aka perfection, but a process and an opportunity for growth, then that reframing can really, really help that kind of procrastination and paralysis. Yeah, and this is a really important topic, and I also think that it's also important to understand the underpinnings of perfectionism, where it comes from, the conditionings that we get from our childhoods, the trauma, and etc. etc. So there's definitely a place for there to be like a trauma-informed perfectionism therapy. For me, in terms of what I've been doing like long term, has been a lot of meditation and deconditioning my mind from this way of feeling and thinking, and this meditation has really helped me shift a lot of things. Most recently, just before I started my orbit with YouTube, I just had a huge epiphany. I was back at home, and I've had like a blowout with my father, and that blowout really made me realize that as a child I wasn't given the right tools and the right upbringing to manage how I feel, and to feel good about myself, and to feel to feel loved and to feel worthy. And I've been put down a lot and really belittled pretty much all my childhood life, and so that is a really hard thing to then navigate as an adult, because your inner voice is that voice of your parents that belittled you, right? But anyway, so recently I had a blowout with my father, and that sound, that voice in my head, somehow parts of it disappeared, because I feel like parts of that got integrated with that blowout, because I stood up for myself and I said that is not okay for me, being talked to like that, or being shouted at, or you know, like whatever, verbal abuse is not okay for me. And I stood up for myself, I stood up for my inner child, and that has really given my inner child confidence in the fact that I'm worthy, and it's not okay for people to treat me in that way, and it's also not okay for my mind to treat me in that way either. So that has helped. Yeah, so trauma-informed approach to perfectionism can be incredibly helpful, and I also hope that those little tips that I shared with regards to how can you kind of shift that perfectionism also helped. But I think that the key is definitely the inner work, and it's through the inner work that you can do that. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you being here, and make sure to subscribe and write down I've subscribed, and then I can comment back. And thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.